Before long, Edwin returned with a dress, his forehead slick with sweat. Just as he reached for his phone again, a piercing scream erupted from Esm's room. My designs. Who ripped up my designs? Chapter 3. Mom. Dead. And Edwin rushed over, only to find Esm collapsed on the floor. She was sobbing uncontrollably. Scraps of shredded paper clenched in her hands. Kaya sent this, the collection you were supposed to unveil tonight. How could it be destroyed? Who did this? Mom immediately crouched down to help Esma, her eyes full of concern. Esm gasped through her tears. I knew these designs weren't important, so I was extra careful. I even locked them up in the cabinet. Claudia and I shared before I left. A sharp laugh escaped me, with just a single sentence. She had pointed the finger clearly enough. Dad slammed his fist against the door and roared. Fadia has gone too far. No wonder she hasn't come home. She must have done this out of spite. When she shows her face, I'll break her legs myself. Chaos erupted upstairs. Edwin only sighed, sounding weary enough. What matters now is figuring out how to salvage this. Many influential guests came tonight, expecting to see Esm's new pieces. I'll check the basement. Maybe there are tools or supplies we can use. He turned toward the door, but Esm quickly grabbed his arm. Edwin, it's useless. She didn't just rip them up, she took some of the pages with her. They can't be pieced back together. What? Mom gasped. Edwin quickly comforted her. Pushing the thought of going to the basement aside, he crouched down and wiped the tears from Esm's eyes. It's okay. I'll handle this. What matters most is that you enjoy your birthday. At that moment, he stood like the pillar of the family, someone everyone could lean on. Esm met his gaze, and the very next second, she pressed her lips to his. Edwin frowned, instinctively wanting to pull away, but in the end he didn't. He wrapped his arms around her waist, deepening the kiss. Even though I had died, it felt like I was suffocating. At that moment, I had thought Edwin merely admired Harry, never imagined his admiration had turned into something more. But I should have known. Every Christmas, he would carefully choose thoughtful gifts for Esm, while I was overlooked. If I received anything at all, it was something cheap and meaningless. Year after year, my jewelry box was filled with trinkets worth nothing. The only piece of real value was the diamond ring he gave me on our wedding day. Back then, his heart still belonged to me, but that didn't matter anymore, because I would be giving it all back to him at this very birthday party. Chapter 4. Edwin and Esm's lips finally parted. Her cheeks were flushed. While he slipped out of the room, looking flustered, his heart was still pounding when his gaze fell on the gown lying on the couch. He picked up a bottle of red wine and poured it over the fabric. Without hesitation, the stark white cloth loomed with a dark red stain, like blood splattered across it. After tossing the ruined gown into the trash, he left me a message. Claudia, I actually went out of my way to buy you a dress. You are nothing but a venomous woman. You don't deserve it. Do you realize what you've done? Your parents were so angry that they nearly had heart attacks because of you. I suggest you come back immediately and apologize to everyone. Otherwise, when you return, we'll have to discuss divorce. His venomous words no longer stirred anything in me. My heart was numb. Instead, I looked down at the shredded paper scattered across the floor. A thought crossing my mind. If Esm could no longer create flawless designs, would they still love her? After all, she had already burned through every draft she had stolen from me, and the pieces she torn apart with her own hands. This time were her final leverage. I was already dead, but her descent into hell was only just beginning. This birthday banquet might be her final celebration. That deserves a toast, I thought. Soon, the guests began to arrive. I kissed Esm on the cheek, showering her with warm wishes. Not one of them mentioned my name, except for the old family butler, Brendan Pace, who asked softly, "Where's Claudia? Why don't I see her?" Dad gave a derisive snort. "She's dead." Brendan paled, but Esm quickly intervened. "Dad's joking. Claudia had something to do tonight, so she couldn't make it." Her tone was gentle, but Brendan didn't so much as glance at her. After all, he had witnessed the day she pushed me down the stairs years ago. Later, she had framed him for speaking up, and Dad had driven him from the household. Sensing his indifference, Esm shot him a sharp glare without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, Edwin was busy talking to the guests about the ruined designs. They all comforted him. Esm is so talented, only lost design doesn't matter. She'll keep creating masterpieces, no matter how hard jealous people try to tear them apart. Their words pleased Mom and Dad. Dad beamed. Exactly. Esme is a prodigy. The mediocre can never compare to her. The chorus of praise grew louder, until Mom suddenly turned to Edwin. "What's truly a shame is that such a wonderful man ended up with such a terrible wife. If you ask me, Edwin belongs with Esm. They're the perfect match." Esm blushed, nudging Mom shyly before sneaking a glance at Edwin. He lowered his head and sipped his wine, neither refuting nor agreeing. But his answer came during the gift exchange. He presented Esm with a ruby necklace. It wasn't just any necklace. It was his late mother's heirloom. He had told me about it, promising that he would personally place it around my neck on our 5th wedding anniversary. Now, he was placing it around Esm's neck. I watched without a trace of emotion, my heart completely hollow. One by one, guests handed Esm their presents. She eventually pointed to the stack of boxes in the corner. "Are those for me too?" Her face lit up as she lifted on, but then she noticed the inscription from Claudia. Before she could open it, Dad stormed over, snatched the box from her hands, and tossed it aside. "Don't touch that. Who knows what trick she's trying to pull? What if it's something harmful?" I finally realized what kind of person I was. In their eyes, I let out a bitter, self-deprecating smile. Instead of watching, I turned toward the window and looked at the moon. Just then, a low buzz filled the room as a dancing fly swarmed inside in a circle. My body must have begun to rot. Everyone wrinkled their noses. Brennan studied the insects and then said, "They're probably coming from the basement. Maybe some of the produce has spoiled." At that, Edwin stood. "Everyone, please continue. I'll go check." Esm rushed to grab his arm. "There's no need for that. It's just a few flies." But he shook his head. It's your birthday. I want everything to be perfect. Without hesitation, he headed toward the basement. Closer he got, the more flies swarmed, and the stench of blood grew stronger. He covered his nose, grimacing, as he scrambled after him, but Brendan stuck out his foot, sending her stumbling to the ground. He had long since suspected her behavior. What is that smell? Mom and Dad hurried down after him. Edwin kicked open the basement door, and there, in the dark, he saw my body sprawled lifelessly on the floor. Hey, Francie. Claudia. Edwin stumbled back, tripping over a loose floorboard, his face drained of all color, his hands trembling so violently that his phone slipped from his grasp and clattered to the concrete. The stench of rot and dry blood hit him like a fist, cloying, impossible to ignore. Flies swarmed in a black cloud around my body. Their buzzing was loud, enough to drown out the distant music from the party. Upstairs, Claudia. No, he whispered, his voice cracking. He took a step forward, then Francie, as if afraid to confirm what his eyes were screaming. His gaze darted to my broken fingers, still curled loosely around the Winnie Bear char, and his breath hitched. My parents pushed past him, their faces twisted in disgust until they saw me. Mom's scream echoed through the basement, shrill and raw. Dad Francie, his mouth hanging open, his earlier anger replaced by a terror he couldn't hide. What happened? He stammered, backing away, as if I might reach out and drag him down with me. Who'd scrambled to her feet after Brendan tripped her, stood in the doorway. Her face was paper white, her hands clasped so tight that her knuckles turned white. When her eyes met mine, empty and unblinking, so let out a whimper. It's not my fault, she whispered, though no one had accused her yet. I didn't mean for this. Brendan followed them down, his expression calm but sharp. He'd been waiting for this moment, waiting for the truth to finally surface. Miss Essen, he said, his voice steady. You told everyone you went looking for Claudia, but you never left the house, did you? You came down here. You saw her. Essen's head snapped up. Liar, she shrieked. I didn't see anything. She was already like this when I got here. I tried to wake her, but she wouldn't move. Her lies were clumsy, desperate, nothing like this move. Sweet deceptions she usually spun. Edwin finally found his voice, though it sounded like someone else's. The charm, he said, staring at the Winnie Bear in my hand. It's your size, you wear it every day. Essen's face crumbled. I lost it days ago. She must have found it, stolen it, like she steals everything from me. She turned to my parents, her eyes streaming with fake tears. Mom, Dad, you have to believe me. Claudia hated me. She's been jealous of me my whole life. She did this to herself to frame me. No one spoke. The only sounds were the flies, the distant music, and Essen's ragged sobs. Mom looked from Essen to my body, her lips trembling for a second. I thought she might finally choose the truth, but then she sighed, her shoulders slumping. She's right, she said, her voice hollow. Claudia was always so dramatic, always trying to get attention.